From the Allen Media Worldwide Headquarters Studios high atop Two Turtle Creek, this is Deconstructing Dallas. Greetings, everyone. It is your co-host, Ryan Trimble here, joined today by the always dapper, always glowing, basking in the glow of a Cowboys win, Shawn Williams. Shawn, good day, sir.
Good day. I mean, truly, you're always dapper, truth be told. Like, you are the guy who comes in with a suit every day, but on Casual Friday, which usually we don't say what day it is, but today is Casual Friday, and you got on jeans, you got on boots. I almost didn't recognize you.
I shocked everyone in the office.
Yeah.
Maureen nearly fell out of her chair when I walked by her desk.
Maureen reintroduced herself to you because A, you have been out of the office, which we'll talk a little bit about, and B, because you are taking up Jeans Friday, which is a surprise to all of us.
I'm just going to jump on 2019 and some resolutions, Shawn.
It's all right, man. Dallas Cowboys.
Man,
big
jump
win.
right in. How about that win last night?
I was watching the game from kickoff, and we've talked a little bit about this. I mean, the defense was on fire. They were running sideline to sideline, ball hawks. Every time Drew Brees threw the ball or dropped back to pass, two things happened. Number one, there was pressure on him in his face. And number two, there was a defender right with whatever receiver he was throwing the ball to.
I mean, those guys were flying around like crazy people. Van Der Esch, he's a wild man. Jalen Smith making tackles. What you said, your stat guy, 19 tackles between the two of them?
Yeah, 19 tackles between them.
And the best one we mentioned was, we were talking offline, the best one was when Smith comes from midfield to tackle Kamara at the goal line. That's a play where Kamara usually scores.
Wasn't that the next play, then they stopped him on fourth down?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a huge play. Jalen Smith, man, I mean, Leighton Van Der Esch has been a surprise to most everybody except probably the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. By the way, it seems like he wears a tiny shirt during the game because I can always, it just seems a little smedium, which, hey, I can't talk about anybody wearing smedium.
I love it.
But, man, Jalen Smith has been super stupendous out there on the field.
Yeah, it's fun to watch those guys, and Zeke Elliott's flying around, slashing and slicing and dicing, and it's fun to see them play well.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to see them play well. It's fun to see Dak have a good game. He had 18 completions in a row at one point. He hit Michael Gallup there in the first quarter in stride, which was nice to see. Missed him a little later in the game, which would have been a really nice insurance touchdown. But Dak had a good game. Got to take care of the ball a little better. Leads the NFL in fumbles. That is not a good thing.
But you know what? One of my favorite things is at the end of a game when the other team is out of timeouts and you are literally 2 or 3 yards away from the end zone, and you can just line up in victory formation. I mean, that
you
to
don't see
me,
that much, but man, when you do,
I love that. It's like we could punch this in, but we're just gonna take a knee and end this thing. It's so great. That to me is better than scoring the touchdown.
Yeah. What's even worse is when that's the case, and like the line, if the line is like 3.5 or something like that, and then
the sports book in Vegas is going crazy.
Does not like that when there's money on the line, but when your team is at the 1 foot line and goes in the victory formation,
we
that's
should
pretty
go
cool.
on a Deconstructing Dallas, Deconstructing Vegas road show.
You know
Shawn.
what? That is a really good idea. I could definitely get in on that.
Call it right now. If the Cowboys are in the Super Bowl, I don't want to be that guy, but let's put the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. Road trip to Vegas. Deconstructing Dallas road trip. Shawn is
Deconstructing Dallas road trip to Vegas. This is we need to start looking for sponsors now.
Send us your emails to all you sponsors that are jumping out of your seats to fly us to Vegas.
Well, I want to give definitely a shout out to the Cowboys defense. I mean, that was marvelous play, and I really have enjoyed the offensive line play, and I don't know if it's bringing Mark Colombo in as the offensive line coordinator. I think they made some changes on the offensive line due to injury, but the offensive line, to me, outside of what Amari Cooper is doing for the team, that's really been the biggest difference. I think that is the biggest difference for me during this current win streak.
Yeah, fun times to watch those guys, and so congratulations again, Cowboys.
Yeah, and then we've talked about you being out of the office because you were, monitoring or following, I'll say following the recount that was going on in House District 108.
Yeah, congratulations to State Representative Morgan Meyer. He won officially. His opponent conceded after a recount that was ill-fated from the beginning, in my humble opinion. And we not that I don't love democracy and want the wheels of democracy working like a well-oiled machine, but it was good to see Representative Meyer officially get the win yesterday. Congratulations to him. I was down there. The elections sometimes don't end on election day,
and what people don't look at is, even when you look on those websites, it says unofficial results.
That's right.
Because they have to there are other ballots that need to be counted. They need to make sure everything is in.
There's overseas ballots from military, expat. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens after the victory party and the balloons and the confetti fall from the ceiling at the at the big ballroom at the hotel. So big thanks to everybody who pitched in on that effort. Good to see Representative Meyer. He'll be returning. He'll be a strong voice for North Texas, strong voice for Dallas. So congratulations to him.
Absolutely, congratulations, and congratulations to you on the work that you did on the campaign.
Thank you, and thanks to all the staffers down at Dallas County Elections. Whatever partisan leanings you have, some people talpop them, think there's shenanigans going on. Those folks are really hardworking professionals, and so they handled it with the utmost respect for democracy, and worked until somebody told them to stop. And so hats off to them. Thanks so much, everybody at the Dallas County Elections staff.
I love it when staff gets a shout out.
That's right.
That's great.
That's right. As a former staffer, I like
Absolutely.
that.
As a former staffer for me, I like it as well. So This week, I say we, but because you were busy and out and doing the election thing, it was me and Doug Dunsavage, our client, that we're going to be hearing from a little bit later. Doug Dunsavage is the North Texas Community Advocacy Director at the American Heart Association, and I know you've known Doug for a long time.
Man, I love Doug Dunsavage. That guy's a great guy. So sad that I had to miss the time with him, but looking forward to hearing your conversation with him. I remember Doug from my time again in the legislature. I sound like a broken record every time we talk about somebody like that, Shawn. But Doug, Dallas guy, he and his better half live here in Dallas, and they know my better half, and we've shared meals with them before, and they are good folks. But I used to see Doug roaming around the halls of the Capitol as well, and I think he had like a 6-state region for American Heart, and so he has been a long-time fixture of that organization and has really done some good things.
I know he's worked with our firm on the smoking ordinance here in Dallas, which was a monumental piece of history here in Dallas, and I remember those days. So I've worked with Doug now for the last few months on addressing food insecurity here in Dallas specifically right now, and just full of knowledge but full of passion for the mission of the American Heart Association, and for those of us who have long advocated to address food deserts. And the other term that I've learned that we'll talk about since working with Doug is food swamps. Also, it's not just the food deserts, but the food swamps where there are food options, but they are not good options. And so the American Heart Association is really interested in making a direct impact there. And so we'll be talking to Doug about that.
It's exciting stuff. Well, let's get into it right after this short break. Deconstructing Dallas, Ryan Trimble, Shawn Williams. Stick with us. Basketball season is in full swing in Dallas, and that means it's time for some Moody magic. That's right, friends. SMU basketball is back in action and looking to win another American Athletic Conference title. And now you can be part of the action by purchasing tickets today. Here's what you do. Call my friends over at the ticket office at 214-SMU-GAME or go online to smumustangs.com. Season tickets and single game tickets are available. Again, that's smumustangs.com or 214-SMU-GAME. Go online today, get your tickets, give them a call, and pony up.
Welcome back, Deconstructing Dallas. Shawn Williams, Ryan Trimble. You know, one thing that we really like to do is have an opportunity to speak with our clients on Deconstructing Dallas. And this week, one of our great clients, Doug Dunsavage, is with us. Doug is the North Texas Community Advocacy Director at the American Heart Association. And we're going to talk today about some of the work he's doing here in Dallas. Doug, welcome to Deconstructing Dallas.
Thank you, Shawn. I appreciate being here, and thank you for having me on.
So, you know, one thing that people think about with an organization like American Heart Association, obviously the Heart Walk, that's very visible. Think about blood pressure screenings, making an impact on cholesterol. But can you talk about the policy work? Like here at our firm, obviously we do a lot of work with policy, but I know you've done a lot with policy work. So can you talk about how American Heart Association looks to impact policy in order to help with healthy outcomes?
Right. So the advocacy arm of the American Heart Association is focused on changing public policy. So public policy obviously shapes our communities, it makes our laws, and it gives us a paradigm to live within. And for the past 15 years, I've been working on enacting formal policies across the country. Public policy is a way to really impact health from a cardiovascular and stroke perspective in many ways. So I have done policies like the smoking ordinance here in Dallas. We worked with Leopard and Allen Media in 2008 to really strengthen the smoking ordinance. And it was a real uphill battle in terms of convincing the council and the community that this was a good thing. And I think that anybody now looking back at before this policy was passed to now would agree that it really is a culture shift. So when you have policy that's enacted formally, it can really shift and change that culture. I couldn't imagine going into restaurants in Dallas where there's smoking. And so that's a good example of sort of how public policy has sort of shaped our community. And obviously, we have the data that really shows that there are less emergency room visits with cardiovascular disease and stroke once smoking ordinances are passed in Dallas. Now, that's one example, but overall, policies from a health perspective can really help sort of shape and provide outcomes favorably. And from the American Heart Association's perspective, obviously, it's important that we are focused on CVD and stroke. So,
and you talk policy, but then you also did mention community. So it does really have to be kind of a combination. So can you talk also about the community work that you guys do to support the policy work and vice versa?
Right, and it's very interesting. We have, from an infrastructure perspective, we have a government relations director in every single state in the country. And so we have spent the last 10 years building a program where we've been focused on public policies on the state level, working on legislation, regulations that sort of further our policies, like CPR in schools, requiring kids to have adequate training before they graduate high school. Texas passed that a few years ago. And we've seen a lot of difference in terms of those outcomes that you're talking about on the state level. But then we started really drilling down and we started looking at where we can have the greatest impact in terms of public policy. And what we're really seeing is that we have to focus more on our community work. So I've come back to Dallas in this new role as the North Texas Community Advocacy Director to really focus on community and identifying policies that can really shape healthy outcomes for all citizens in the community. We are all about going into the communities to ensure that all citizens